top 5.
Top 5.
Dooku moments.
Top 5.
Yeah.
All right. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have exactly 5 moments. I didn't get more or less.
Okay.
I was like looking through, trying to find all my Dooku moments. I'm like, what are my favorite ones? What one comes to my head right away when I think about Dooku? And then I went with those ones first. Then I started diving a little deeper, trying to think about more. So.
Gotcha. I will say that, and maybe this is the strength of the Clone Wars or not, but majority of it's Clone Wars for me. I don't know about you.
I have 3 out of 5 that are Clone Wars.
Okay, I got 4 out of 5.
4 out
and
of
then
5?
I have an alternate that is not canon.
All right.
But I love it so much, so I'm adding it in.
All right.
Well, let's start with yours then.
Okay, I will start with this one's probably lower on the list, but I just really like it. This one is from Clone Wars.
Number 5.
Right? It is during the Sifo Dyas arc.
Yeah.
I love, like, there's a moment there when, like, he's fighting, like, Anakin and ObiWan, and the Pikes come out, and he's fighting them too, and all that stuff, and then he, like, jumps and, like, floats away.
Yeah.
Like, he floats away on his ship and everything. Yeah. I really enjoy that
was a
moment.
fun
It's just
fight.
a fun moment there from Dooku and stuff, and when I was trying to think about different things, this one is a lower because this one didn't pop in my head right away.
Okay.
So, but I was like, what are some other moments that I'm not thinking about? And I started trying to, like, look for more moments.
Yeah.
And then that one popped up as, like, my number 5.
Okay.
Just a cool extra moment of him, like, he's all alone.
Yeah.
Fighting off Jedi and then fighting off Pikes.
And the Pikes come in, too.
Overwhelmed. He force push kills the one dude, you know? Like, it's just Dooku doing Dooku, you know?
All right. Well, speaking of Dooku doing Dooku, my number 5 is from Crisis on Naboo, the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And it is after it's revealed that, Dooku's behind all this, and he has to fight Anakin, and he's saving Palpatine. It's really kind of just a way for Palpatine to be like, let's test the boy out a little bit. And he has Dooku fight him, and Dooku kind of jobs him a little bit. And as they're trying to get Palpatine back from Dooku, and he's left on his ramp, and his ship is going up, Obi-Wan comes in and saves the day, as he is the entire... that's the entire arc of the Reiko Hardeen stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I love Dooku's lines. He's, well done, Master Kenobi. You are a worthy adversary. I cannot say the same about your young apprentice. It's so good. Corey Burton is always so good, but he's sticking it to Anakin.
Yeah.
And he's sticking it to Palpatine a little bit. He's like, this is the guy that you're going to replace me with?
You want him?
Come on, man. I'm 90, and I beat him.
One of the best things about Dooku is sometimes just some of the stuff he says and the way he says it, and it's really good, you know? I like that a lot.
Yeah. And he's always just like, I like Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
He's cool. Qui-Gon was cool. Qui-Gon always spoke highly,
It was.
Yeah. So that's my 5.
That's number 5 for you, huh? All right. I will say probably number 4 is not so much a moment of him talking, but it also has to do with the Clone Wars and Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Gotcha.
It is the episode where they are all captured by Hondo and tied together the entire time.
Yeah, that's on my list.
I love the moment when they try to jump the thing, and he's just hanging there upside down, like unimpressed with everything, like hating it all.
Yep.
Like I love because you get a different type of chemistry between them. They have to work together, and it's a different side of Dooku than what I feel like you typically see.
Vulnerable Dooku is the best Dooku.
Yeah.
That's true of Tales of the Jedi. That's true of that arc. That's true of other stuff that's in my list.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like that's another one of my favorite moments. I just like seeing him like this.
Yeah, I know. Man, you really wish that you could have gotten more Christopher Lee.
I know, right? That'd been so good.
All right. Well, my number 4 is the good old Pajama Party. It's the 1v3 Dooku fighting 3 invisible Night Sister assassins in his pajamas, and he just goes out like it's great. It's one of my favorite fights in the Clone Wars, but it's also one of my favorite responses in the Clone Wars, where he's just like, motherfucker doesn't even use a cover. He's just on his he grabs it real quick.
He's just in like these silk pajamas and everything. That one is on my
list.
list.
On your list.
That one was on my
We're
list.
gonna have crossover.
That was when I was thinking, what is my favorite Dooku moments? That was one of the first ones that popped in my head.
Gotcha. Well,
was
it's
that one
so
there.
iconic to the point where Battlefront 2 like gave him that costume.
Just like fighting your pajamas.
Yeah.
It's just funny. I love him just wearing those pajamas and fighting. Fighting like what 3?
Yeah.
4?
It's Asajj and 2 other Night Sisters.
Yeah, so 3 total,
yeah.
right? Yeah, he's just fitting them off. Wearing pajamas is great.
Yeah, so many times Asajj tried to get him and it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Can't get Dooku.
Yeah.
You can't sneak up on him.
But no, that's my number 4 is Pajama Party.
All right, well
That's fine.
I'll push that one down a little bit, but that one, that one is probably my number 2, so I will skip that one when we get to it.
Gotcha.
My number 3 is the Yoda and Dooku fight from Episode 2.
Gotcha.
The Anakin and Obi-Wans are fun too, but I think a little bit of that mixture there is just also having Yoda coming out to do a lightsaber fight just adds to it more. She's like, oh shit, what are we gonna have here? And then it's Christopher Lee fighting nothing, but it's just so much fun. They start off with force powers and stuff, and it's like, I can tell that this won't be decided by the power of our force.
Our knowledge of the force.
Yes.
But by our skill with the lightsaber.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so great, dude.
I just love that.
Man, it was May 2002. Like, my brother took me to see that movie, and I always say, I have two moments that I can remember in the theater being, like, in my childhood, being like, I will never forget these two moments, and one of them is, Dooku beats the shit out of Anakin and Obi-Wan, and we're like, what's going to happen? Like, I remember being there, like, what happens now? No one's left. What, Padme going to come in? No, it just... the little gimmer stick comes around the corner, and I remember being like, ah! My brother be like, shut up,
you're too loud.
Yeah, no, it's not on my list, but if we were going for just sheer hype, like, I will never forget that moment. So,
yeah.
And I love when you look at the behind the scenes of that. Every time George Lucas would like come into the visual effects room and be like, "All right, guys, this is what I'm gonna do now," and they'd be like, "Oh God, what do you want me to do?" And he's like, "I'm gonna have Yoda fight a 6'4" Christopher Lee."
Yeah.
And they're going, "We can't get Christopher Lee to fight like that. We can't get a little Yoda. We can't do any of this.
How are we gonna do any of this?"
And he's like, "Yeah, you'll figure it out." And he just leaves, And they sit there like, "We can't do it. We can't do it." And the ILM documentary has this thing where he's like, "Well, just try.
Do what you can."
And they'll be like, "Okay, George, fine." Then they try and like, "Holy shit, we can do this," So I love that moment. But there's this really fun idea or this fun moment where he's watching the dailies of Yoda spinning around. He's like, "I don't like how his cloak is getting all bunched up." And they're like, "Well, that's a cloth sim. That's what it would look like." He's like, "I don't like it. I want it to go out like angel wings." And he just leaves the room. And they have to change it. So when you watch that fight, watch the cloak, how it like sometimes it'll just kind of like spread out.
Huh. I have to watch now. I've never really paid attention to his cloak when I was watching that. All right. Well, that's what was that? My number 3?
That's your number 3.
That was my number 3.
My number 3 from the same movie is the Obi-Wan interrogation scene with Dooku. This is a mistake. This is a terrible mistake. This is madness. When he comes in, like Christopher Lee gives that air of like, you and I both know that we're not really telling the truth here.
Sure.
But when he not breaks down, but when he really gets serious is when he mentions Qui-Gon.
Yes.
And he's like, "I really wish he was here now.
I could really use him now.
I could use his help."
Yeah.
Like it's the only time in that entire movie that you feel like Count Dooku actually believes what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That one is my number 1.
Number 1. Yeah. Nice.
Mainly because I feel like out of a lot of the moments of Count Dooku, like there's a lot of really cool moments, but I feel like as far as like lore and understanding Dooku and stuff, especially movie-wise, I feel like that's some of the most you get out of like any of the movies,
definitely,
Because like every time else, any other time you see him, he's either fighting someone or he's like talking to the separatists and stuff, and it's more of like organizing the everything that's happening. But in that moment there, it's just him, it's just Obi-Wan. They both can relate through Qui-Gon and stuff, and I really like that moment as far as like a Dooku moment itself. Like a lot of these other ones are like funny moments with Dooku or cool fight moments with Dooku, but that one there is like I think the most sincerest Dooku.
I think so. If we're not counting Tales of the Jedi.
Not counting Tales of the Jedi.
I will say though, like I think you're right. A lot of this comes from the Clone Wars and supplemental material because in the films, Dooku is he's a mirror, right? Maul is Vader's rage. Dooku is Vader's authority, and Grievous is Vader's like perverse mechanics, right?
Okay.
Like they all kind of like add to what will eventually be Darth Vader. So Dooku doesn't get a whole lot to do that type of thing. But when he does, I like that he... And it continues because it was on my list too. Like he likes Obi-Wan. He kind of almost sees him like a grandson. And just if you learned what was really happening, like he literally said, like the Senate is in control, is being controlled by a Dark Lord of the Sith named Darth Sidious. And
tells him.
Obi-Wan gets back and is like, well, that was obviously a lie. And all the Jedi are like, you know?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's like the most sincere we see him.
Yeah.
Like, like there's at least elements, especially your first time watching. I know there's at least elements here that he's telling the truth of this and this. I don't know exactly what all's truth, what all's maybe lies and whatnot, but I think especially watching it again after knowing more of what's going on and stuff, I feel like he's trying to find someone else or reach out, and he misses Qui-Gon, and there's a lot more there, and it's a little deeper than my first time watching, and I think that's why it ended up being my number one. It's just great. Like, here's a real Dooku moment.
Yeah, and it has one of the best endings to any scene, where like they have this big thing. He's like, "I'll never join you." He's like, "It may be difficult to secure release." He just walks out, you know, right after he said, like, "I'm gonna get you out, buddy." And then they're gonna destroy him in the arena,
right? So that was your number. What was that?
That's my number 3.
3. All right. Well, 2. We mentioned on mine, I think now, right? 2 was my pajama fight.
Pajama fight,
right?
It's amazing.
It's really good. I love the pajama fight.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see him. Like you said, one of the best moments of that is him just laying there in bed, and he's just.
Oh no, it's you know, I love the Clone Wars, but I think one of the Clone Wars' greatest weaknesses is just that its fights don't feel like they have weight. But in terms of, like, what are the best Clone War fights that aren't Ahsoka versus Maul? I put that second maybe only to Palpatine versus Maul and Savage.
Oh, that one's really good, too. I do like
I'm trying
to
think, like, what's better than that.
I do like also Dooku versus Savage and Ventress.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Like, that one's
I do
fun.
like that one. That one has some really cool gags in it, too.
Yeah. They do the steam gag in that and stuff, and there's some cool moments in there, so.
I'm such a huge fan of, like, what makes this fight different. I'll tell you, here's a little detail for the review we're going to do later. This has one of my favorite lightsaber fights I've ever read.
This one does?
Yep. It really does, because I just could not turn off my choreographer brain.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, this would be so cool. This is how you could visualize this and this and this. And I think the thing I like about the Dooku fighting 3 invisible assassins is he's like, I do not need my eyes to see, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of his movements are just trusting the Force and falling into that fencing style he has. So it doesn't really require a lot of the, like, kind of subtle weight shifts that make it choreography exciting, because he's so refined. He's so good. And, like, he's sleepy, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2, you've already mentioned it. It's the capture by Hondo.
Oh, that's your number 2?
But I have 2 moments specifically that are different than yours. My first one is I love Dooku. I just love Dooku, Obi-Wan, Anakin in their cell. I can watch those scenes over and over and over again, but I love Dooku's like, I would kill you both right now if I didn't have to drag your bodies. That's such a funny line.
I love that. That's good.
And then also above that, my favorite part of that whole episode is Obi-Wan, Master Kenobi, tell your apprentice to control his insolence. And Obi-Wan's like, Anakin, control your insolence. Whenever Dooku can make me laugh or be part of something that makes me laugh, it's fun. Because he's so often just like, and there's the bad guy, you know? But whenever he can bring levity into something or make him vulnerable or scared, he's way more interesting.
And his delivery too it's a little flatter. It's almost not quite Holt-like, you know.
Sure.
But it's like you're saying. It's like, tell him to control. It's just he has that tone, and that's usually how he is. He doesn't really fluctuate where he's really happy. Like, oh, there's happy Dooku. Yeah. There's sad Dooku. You don't. Typically, he's just kind of like, I am Dooku, and that's how he is. And it's when you toss in something where it's like you can have some humor in it. It makes it funnier because of how Dooku typically is.
I agree.
So I do like that.
Well,
if I want to mention a random one that's different than some of the other stuff I mentioned, I also do like, you're talking about some of the quotes and stuff. There's the fight with Obi-Wan and Anakin, right? Mm-hmm. The one thing I do like is, however it works, where he's like, my powers have doubled since we last fought, right? And it's like, twice the pride, double the fall. You know, like there's a certain, I don't know, there's a suaveness about Dooku and the way he just can respond.
Your
and have
swords, please. Yeah. Wouldn't want to make a mess of things in front of the Chancellor.
Just the way he kind of has these. It's just, I love it. It's so good. So that's another one I just really like.
He's such an interesting character because I think the one thing that maybe not a lot of people even realize about him is that as Count of Sereno, he is one of, if not the richest people in the galaxy, and he would have grown up with that. So he comes from a place of enormous privilege, yes, but if you think about that in terms of his early Jedi knighthood, let's say, he's not really gonna be susceptible to greed.
Sure.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people, when, like, hey, if you do this, I'll give you 1 billion credits. That, like, some Jedi Masters out there might be like, well,
Sure.
Quinlan Vos might be like, well, I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
Anakin was a slave with
Exactly.
nothing,
Yeah.
and you could easily say, oh, well, maybe he
Yeah.
wants more than what he grew up with, but
yeah, but if greed itself is a pathway to the dark side, it's not necessarily a temptation that Dooku, I felt like, would ever really need to deal with. Just by
No.
the sheer nature of, like, I had everything I ever need. In fact, I gave it all up to be a Jedi. And
Sure.
when I left the Jedi, I got a lot of money now.
Sure. And it doesn't
You
really,
know?
I don't think you can really be like, oh, well, he really wants power. As like, well, as rich as he was, like, he was a Jedi too. Like, he has a lot of money. Like, he's got some power there, you know. But maybe he covets more power. Maybe he doesn't. There's different aspects, and I also think there's some fun stuff in Tales and stuff that kind of touches on some of those kind of ideas. And what is he after? Or what does he want?
Yep.
So,
What does the specific Jedi he is want?
sure.
Yeah.
All right. So you're at your number one then,
I'm
right?
at my number one. We were talking about funny Dooku. We were talking
Yeah.
about Mad Dooku. My number one is Dooku Afraid. Mother Talzin attacks Dooku with her magic. I love the scenes of him on the, like
with the voodoo doll thing.
Yeah,
Right.
he's like on his knees, like, reaching for the controls, like, Grievous, you must destroy Mother Talzin. Like,
I'll do it.
yeah, like
He's like bubbling.
yeah,
It boils and
he's
stuff.
bubbling, his boils.
Oh.
Mother Talzin fucking burst out of his chest and just, like, yells at him. Like, imagine that feeling of being like, what's attacking me? You. It's like this weird hologram made from your own blood and flesh. I just love him being frightened
Sure.
and vulnerable and not able to do anything about it. I mean, to be fair, that happens to him in episode 3 as well.
In his last moments, yeah.
But that's a betrayal where he's like, oh, you fucking got me. Whereas there, I feel like he just completely underestimates the Night Sisters, Talzin. He's like, they've fucked with me one too many times.
and like how their force works, right?
Yeah.
Like, what can they do?
And I also love the little detail that after Grievous kills, whoever it was, I can't remember the name of the old lady, Dooku, like, you think, like, oh, he's fine now. He goes, he vomits magic.
Yeah, right?
Motherfucker vomited magic. That's my number one moment.
That's pretty good. I
Yeah.
kind of forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But as you talk about, like, oh yeah, the little voodoo doll thing that they had and stuff. He's like boiling out. Oh man, ugh. Yeah, that one's pretty good too.
Gotcha.
I like that one.
Yeah, so that's my my 5. I do have one alternate just in case we needed it, but it was just the Ventress introduction in Star Wars Clone Wars, the Genndy Teriyaki. I just always loved Dooku. Just you see this amazing female warrior like just destroy all of these people that are vying for attention or whatever this job is, and Dooku just like levitates out,
He just floats. Yeah, he floats
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and she's like, you should be afraid of me. I am Sith. And he's like, ha, 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 ha. A bold claim.
He's
And he's like, you have the trappings of the Sith. You fight like the Sith, but these can be imitated. You lack one vital quality found in all Sith. Sith have no fear. And I sense much fear in you. And she gets pissed off, turns lightsabers at him, and he just turns around and lights her up with so much lightning, both hands. You never really see him do both hands.
no.
It's usually
it's usually one, and it's like this, right?
He turns around and he just like, I'm a Sith. That's one of my favorite moments. So
That's cool. I didn't really think about that
Legends.
because, one, it's Legends, and two, like,
Yeah.
I just watched that this year. It came out. We watched it for this May.
yes, we did. Yeah,
So-
you can find the reaction of you watching that the first time on the channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
All right,
No,
those
that's a
are
fun
my
moment.
Dooku moments.